What's up, everybody? My name is D now, and welcome to the very first episode of the Hawks Nest. Every week, we'll be breaking down the news when it comes to Iowa football, so let's get started. After the abysmal offensive season Iowa had last year, with the transfers and departures that followed that, it's time to turn the page and take a look at what the offense looks like looking forward going into the spring game, which is just a month away. Starting out, let's look at the quarterbacks. This is Cade McNamara's job to lose. He's arguably the best quarterback on the roster. He played some in 2022, but was derailed by injuries and never got a shot again once JJ McCarthy took off. He finished 2021 with the Big Ten championship from Michigan and finished the season with 2,576 yards and 15 touchdowns. So the real competition is at the backup quarterback position. The spot will be between returning quarterback Joey Labas and recent Wisconsin transfer Deacon Hill. Labas played one game last year. He was the starter for the bowl game against Kentucky and finished the game with 139 yards and one touchdown, while Deacon Hill redshirted last year. So my prediction is unless Deacon Hill comes out red hot and lights it up during spring game and fall camp, the job is Labas's, just because he has the experience in the offense. Now at running back, again, this is another position that's pretty much locked down because of Caleb Johnson's production last year. As a freshman, Johnson finished with 779 yards and 6 touchdowns. He played sparingly the first couple weeks, but he really took over the starting job in week 4. And from then on, he had huge games, amassing 200 yards a couple times last season. So again, the backup is really the spotlight for the competition. And the backs in this is LaShawn Williams and Jason Patterson. They both had action last year. Williams having a lot more than Patterson, but Patterson really came on at the end of the year. Williams is more of your power every down kind of back, where Patterson is more of a twitchy runner, and is a lot better in the receiving department. So when I look at it, I think it's more of Williams will get a majority of the backup carries, but Patterson will be plugged in for special plays or screens and stuff like that to the running back. The third position is tight ends. This is another one where it's pretty much locked down. It's going to be Eric All and Luke Lachey. Those are going to be your guys. Eric All, transferred in with Cade McNamara from Michigan. They have that chemistry. I believe All was even a 4-star recruit coming out of high school. I believe he was injured last year, but in 2021 he had 437 yards and 2 touchdowns. And Luke Lachey really came on last year as tight end 2 for behind Laporta, who's moving on to the NFL. He's a big body tight end, 6'6", 260. He had 400 yards, 4 touchdowns, and I'm expecting him to take that next jump this year. And the reason why this is probably a lockdown position is because every time Iowa's been good, it's been based off of the 2 tight end offense. I mean, you can go back to Fant Hawkinson, Fant Kittle, or even 20 years ago, you can go Dallas Clark and Scott Chandler. Every time they were good, it was 2 tight ends. So now we start moving on to the areas where it's a little bit shaky and more up for grabs. And we'll start with the wide receivers. So again, that position wide open. They only have one returner that has, I guess, decent production, and that's Nico Regini. Over the last 4 years, he has 1,354 yards, 4 touchdowns. He's more of a slot kind of guy, though. And coming in, they also have Deontay Vines, who was supposed to take a big jump last year, but missed a majority of the season due to injuries. And I would say like week or game 9, he started to come back, but he was never really himself health wise for the rest of the season. So his numbers were kind of down. Um, One person that I'm really excited to see would have to be Seth Anderson. He transferred in from Southern Charleston, and this kid has wheels. He is a burner, which Iowa has not had in a long time. He can really stretch the field if Iowa decides to pass it down the field. As a freshman there, he had 43 receptions for 612 yards and 7 touchdowns. And my guy that I think is going to have a breakout season is Brody Brecht. He's the big body receiver that Iowa needs. He is 6'4", I believe 200 pounds. Um, he played sparingly last season, only had 9 receptions for 100 yards. But I think if he can take that big jump that a lot of people expect him to be, he could fit that Daryl Johnson Koulianos role that Iowa had like 10, 12 years ago. Um, and a side note for Brody, he is actually on Iowa's baseball team where he has a 2.14 ERA and leads the team with 3 saves. And now moving to where Iowa's offense really struggled last year. It was the offensive line. Um, this is easily the weakest part of Iowa's offense, which is really sad to say because Iowa is known for producing offensive linemen every single year. Um, I guess the one bright spot about this position is everyone that started a game for them is back this year, and they have a few additions which could also bump up that production from them. The first addition would have to be Dejon Parker. He came from Saginaw Valley State University. He originally decided to transfer to Virginia, but then flipped to Iowa. And what I like about this guy is he fits that Iowa mold. He's really quiet. He's a workhorse, and he plays nasty. He doesn't take any BS from the defensive line. He will bury you and help you up after the play. Um, the next position would have to be Logan Jones at center. Last year was his first year being a full-time center. He switched from the defensive line, much like his predecessor Tyler Linderbaum did, but he wasn't that natural fit into the position like Tyler was. Um, they got a transfer from Miami of Ohio, Rusty Feth, I believe that's his name. Um, and I believe they got him to come in as kind of that mentor for Logan Jones, help him fix the reads on the offensive line, how to better communicate with the other linemen, um, and also just to work on his snaps. Uh, he really struggled with his snap placement throughout all of last year. It was either constantly in the dirt or way over Petrus's head. Um, the next lineman I'm expecting to take a big jump is Colby Connor. He was one of Iowa's highest offensive line recruits in history, but he did not look it last year. He started off at tackle. He really struggled with his feet work. He was constantly being beat, even by guys at South Dakota State, Nevada. They were blowing right by him almost every single play. So they originally actually benched him for a week and then transitioned him slowly into guard, where he played for the rest of the season. And hopefully, with the addition of Parker and Feth, they can kind of help him with his reads as well. And with that production that he had last year at guard, I'm hoping he takes that next step and can kind of work on his feet work and the way he can read defensive linemen because he really struggled. Um, and of course, this all goes without saying we can hope that all these players take the next jump, the offense explodes, XYZ. But it really doesn't matter if Iowa is Iowa. They have one of the most readable offenses in the nation. They really struggled. I went to a couple games last year talking with the fans, and they were just like, "Oh, here comes the draw." That was drawn. Oh, here comes a screen to the tailback. That was drawn. They're so predictable when it comes to offense. Brian Ferentz, that's a whole nother topic, rabbit hole I could go down. Um, it's time for Kirk to evolve to, I believe at this point it'll be Kirk 6.0. He needs to get out of the 1980s offense of 3 yards in a cloud of dust and become modern. Um, yes, he runs a pro ready offense, but the game is changing. Um, all these guys can't have their breakout seasons, can't have the production to take them to the next level if they're stuck in the past. Um, so, with that being said, next time we will be breaking down the defensive depth chart and going over who needs to fill major goals left by Jack Campbell, Van Ness, Riley Moss, Merriweather. So, I look forward to seeing you guys there. I appreciate you all, and go Hawks. Hey, everybody, it's Dean now from the Hawks Nest podcast. Make sure you go check out our other content. Make sure you like and subscribe.